Tim O'Malley with Tim Priester for Irish Illustrated, following Notre Dame's 7th practice. We're at about the midway point of spring here. Tim, you watched the defense today. What stood out really in a full 2-hour, 22-segment session?
Yeah, I think there's some clarity at linebacker, or at least the picture's getting a little bit clearer here for us. Jack Lamb, they love Jack Lamb. I mean, everywhere you turn, they love Jack Lamb, and he looks like the third down guy on the field. He has great knowledge and concept of what they're trying to do against the passing game. It looks like Shane Simon, we've been talking about cross-training, but he definitely was working at Buck linebacker today. They were doing some drills underneath the chute, where they have to keep their pads down. Clearly a drill for in-the-box inside linebacker. So a little bit of clarity there. Paul Moala is now a rover. And if Simon stays inside, then that Owusu Koromoa and Paul Moala are the rovers moving forward.
Speaking of the passing game, offensively, Ian Book was sharp. Chris Fink was although Chase Claypool had the catch of the spring so far, Chris Fink he's going to catch a lot of balls this year, and really highlighted today by a great play by a veteran wide receiver, catches a pass, follows Tony Jones blocking against Jalen Elliott, 25 yards downfield for the touchdown. It's good to see these veterans taking the extra strides. Tony Jones looks quick. He looks like a different football player. And speaking of quick, Lawrence Keys just continues to show up on the offensive end. The guy gets open. He's very small. I don't know if he's an every down player. But watching this offense kind of come together, you can see the new pieces developing. And, if we see Kevin Austin look good one day, Joe Wilkins look good again today.
Yeah, he really did.
And Lawrence Keys has been looking good often. Braden Lindsey kind of out of contact, it seemed like today. But you can really see these new pieces developing. Now, going against them, obviously, Troy Pride, but what else did you see in the back end? Because Troy Pride, every time you look up when there's a pass defense, it seems to be Troy Pride.
Yeah, well, there have been a lot of questions about nickel. Who's going to play nickel? When we asked Brian Kelly about last, he said they haven't even gotten there. They got to it today, late in the practice. And this was some intel that we had gotten recently, that Avery Davis is the guy that they would like to win that job. Now, Sean Crawford obviously is in the mix there, but he's not physically ready for the spring. So those are the two guys that they're looking at. Now, having said that, I thought it was a pretty tough day for Avery Davis. And let's be real here. When they're going 7-on-7, 11-on-11, and the quarterback can't be hit, the defense is in a tough spot. And so there's a lot of pressure on the defensive backs, and I thought Davis struggled at times. But in terms of nickel, that's who they're looking at. Obviously Sean Crawford's the first guy in, provided that he's healthy enough to do that this fall.
The quarterback's not getting hit. I kind of made the offhanded comment to you before we started taping. I thought the offensive line blocked well. I mean, sometimes it comes down to that. There was a lot of 11-on-11 action today. They held up well in pass protection. Now, you are not allowed to hit. They weren't tackling to the ground. It wasn't scrimmage today. And so every once in a while, I think Ian Book would hang on to it a little longer than he would have in regular situations. But I think without really... You see Robert Hainsey battling Khalid Kareem. We know Khalid Kareem is a top 5 strong side defensive end. The same thing on the other side with Julian Okwara. And Eichenberg's holding up well. I thought Aaron Banks is a little bit more uneven, but I don't think he's fully healthy right now. Until we really see him running the football at 11-on-11 scrimmage action, we can't comment necessarily on the physicality of that line. But they're pass protecting well, and it's against a front 7 that's obviously had Dalen Hayes come in today. It's against a front 7 that has multiple options at every position out on the defensive ends.
One further note defensively, Alohi Gilman, I wouldn't expect him to do anything live this spring. The last thing they need is for him to have a setback with the abdominal injury. He was running around, though. I saw him doing sprints. We saw him doing some individual work. Once they start getting into 7-on-7, 11-on-11, he's shut down. So I wouldn't expect to see him this spring. But it was good to see him running sprints and moving around again.
We will have practice reports later today and a podcast on Thursday heading into a Saturday session where we have yet another full practice and Coach Brian Kelly afterwards.